But it's also a plug to become a Frontiers member. I will put that link in the chat for now if you have not already, just to make sure that you are plugged in with all things Frontiers.
I just dropped it in there, so it's in there, folks. It doesn't take long
At all. It's just a red cap form. Thank you. You're faster than me today.
Never.
Today.
Great. Do we have other Frontiers updates? Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, there is one other thing. I'm sorry. I did not send Alan the agenda ahead of time, so this is my fault that he is looking at me like this. So I got a promotion. I am officially the Community Partner Project Manager here at Frontiers. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Mariana. And so what that basically means is that I can do more work connecting and being the liaison between community groups and researchers, helping find those gaps and just bolstering our community engagement as we see fit. So it'll just be more of the same, but it is gearing towards more strategy, more synthesizing, all of those things. So I'm really excited to plug in with you guys and let some of the other things go that may have been holding me back. No more holding me back. So I'm really excited to be your Community Partner Project Manager now. So that's the only other Frontiers update that I have, Alan. Thank you.
That's awesome. And eventually we will have more staff too that are working with and under Sharayla's supervision. So that'll be awesome. More coming on that. There is a Frontier Symposium save the date out now too for March 9th. I don't know if that how widely that was distributed, Sharayla. Probably, I assume it's going to everybody who's signed up as a member.
Yes. If you received a newsletter in the past, most likely you got to save the date. And I'm pushing out more information, but I was trying to wait until we got like times scheduled. But I don't think I'm gonna wait for that. So I'll be pushing that out in case you have not yet received that, to make sure that you have it on your calendar. We'd love to have you there. This is our first one since 2020. We got right under the wire, right before we shut down for COVID. We had our research symposium, and then a week and a half later, Kansas City shut down. So this will be our first one, and we're really excited, and we hope to have good attendance there. And you know what I mentioned to the Health Equity Task Force yesterday, I really want to make sure that if we're missing something that's on the agenda, if there's something that you feel is relevant that should be discussed, please let me know so we can bring it up to our leadership and we can make sure that it is something that we tackle and that we talk about it. And if there's a presentation that you want to do, if there's a poster or something like that, please let me know. We just want to involve as many people as possible. So March 9th, you will receive an email.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Sharayla, but I think one of the themes, or maybe the main theme, will relate to communicating research results to communities. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So pretty germane to a lot of the work some of us do. And I don't know if we'll get asked to, to present any examples or anything like that. I know they've got a speaker, a visiting speaker coming.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a communications expert,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it could be really important stuff for some of the work some of us do.
Agreed.
So,
Jill, is there anything we're missing for announcements before we get started? And Jill's working hard. It's the beginning of the semester.
There's too many new classes.
Okay. Well, seeing nothing. Well, let me just say to Dr. Jen Bacani McKinney, we noticed your splash in the newsletter. Now that you're on the call, I just want to recognize you. Thank you so much for all the work you do in rural Kansas. And if you haven't had a chance to open your newsletter from Frontiers, please do so. You'll see a picture, an article, and all the work that she does. So thank you. I just wanted you to hear that verbally as well.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for making me feel really cool being in the newsletter.
You are cool, whether you're in the newsletter or not. And let that be a lesson to all of you. You're all cool, even if you're not on the newsletter. Okay. But get in the newsletter though, because it's cool. Okay. Alexandra, it looks like you're connected in both ways now. Are you ready to share your screen, or do you need to share your screen for your presentation?
Yes, I'm sorry about that, but I realized my my laptop is not, the internet is not really stable on my laptop. So I don't want to, have you guys have trouble listening to my presentation. So I switched to my tablet.
Okay.
But I will be showing the slides through the laptop because that's just a little bit easier to do. So
now, can you please tell me how to pronounce your last name? Because I've been saying it in my head, but I've never said it out loud.
it's Kondyli.
Kondyli. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So Dr. Kondyli is Associate Professor of Transportation, Engineering, and Civil Environmental and Architectural Engineering right here. She's most interested in traffic operations and management, highway capacity, microsimulation. The list goes on and on. So she was a postdoc associate at the University of Florida Transportation Research Center. She received her master's and PhD in civil engineering from the University of Florida. There are way worse places you could be than Florida to receive these degrees. So we're so excited to hear what you have. You have been highly recommended to do a presentation about this. So we're excited to see what you have, and I turn the floor over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thanks for the invitation. I'm really glad that I'm here and I can present on this project. I can start sharing my screen. I have some slides. Or let me see, can you see the slides?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, so this project is a project. The title is Connecting Underrepresented Youths with Employment Opportunities. And that's the NSF Mobility Project that you talked to us a little bit earlier. And this is a very multidisciplinary project, and we have multiple partners that we're working with in this project. There's a lot of researchers from the University of Kansas. I am the PI of the project, and apart from me, there's also Dr. Jamila Watson-Thompson from Applied Behavioral Science and Thrive. Alisa Cox, she's the Associate Director of the KU Transportation Center. We have Hazen Fang from Mechanical Engineering, Drew Davidson from Electrical Engineering and Computer Science, Bradley Lane, he's in the Public Affairs and Administration Department, and David Jamolowicz from Applied Behavioral Science. Just want to acknowledge David sadly passed away last year, but he did help a lot with the project in the beginning. We also have KC Digital Drive, who is a partner at the Kansas City area. They do a lot of work with identifying community needs and putting together teams and working on big projects. And we're glad we're working with them on this. Also, in terms of community partners, we have the Kansas City Public Library. And it may seem weird to have a mobility project and the library is working on this, but they have actually been instrumental in conceiving this project idea, and they've done a lot of groundwork already. And I will talk a little in detail about this. We also have Keystone Innovation and Thrive through Dr. Thompson. So this project is focused on youth, right? So for this reason, we have schools participating. We are collaborating with Crossroads Academy, Why Not High School, and Sumner Academy as our primary schools, but we've also reached out and to other schools in the Kansas City metro area, in both Kansas and the Missouri side. And of course, this is a mobility project, so we have mobility providers join our team. The Kansas City the Kansas City Area Transportation Authority, KCTA, with transit, and other options they have. The Kansas City Streetcar, Z-Trip is a microtransit provider in the area, and by KC. So we've explored all of these options, and we're working with some of them to address the needs for youth. And we're also, some stakeholders that are involved are the Wyandotte County Economic Development Council, and the City of Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City. It's like a by state area, obviously. So I'll talk a little bit about this project, how it generated. I'm not sure if you're familiar with NSF and the civic program. It's called, they released a call in 2020 about the Civic Innovation Challenge through their Smart and Connected Communities program. And that had two tracks. One was mobility related and the other one was resiliency related. So the focus of this call was primarily to fund ready to implement research and also have a pilot on a specific topic that tries to address needs that have been identified from the community. So this is not the typical NSF project where it's research-based, basic research, but it's mostly like, what does the community need and how can we support them? And they also were very interested in the scalability, sustainability, and transferability of these projects on the area or even in other CPs that can replicate the same techniques and methods used. So they funded a stage 1 planning grant in early 2021. That was only for 4 months. And this was very good so that we can put together the teams and try to narrow down the scope of the project a little bit better. And they had a lot of submissions, but they gave 50 grants at the end, and we were lucky to receive one through that. And then after that, during the planning grant duration, we worked on the full proposal submission. That was for $1 million and for 1 year. They awarded 17 grants total. I think 6 were mobility related and the remaining 11 were resiliency related. And we also received some supplemental funds last year to focus on the sustainability aspect of this project. So where we are right now, we're still working on this project after we got the additional funds, and actually we are, the project is about to finish in September this year. So a little bit of background of what we are working on here and just set the stage for you. So we are looking at out of school time opportunities, events that youth and kids ages 13 to 18 years old can attend after school when school is in session, or in the summertime when the school is out. We know that out of school time opportunities are very important for helping students learn what they enjoy doing. They can also learn their skills, what they're capable of doing and want to explore a little bit more and become better, right? And there are also spaces where people feel that they belong. So they get a sense of belonging when they attend these out-of-school time opportunities. However, the access to these opportunities is inequitable, as you can imagine. We generally have two different experiences. We have youth that come from affluent houses and school districts and who are also disproportionately white, right? They have greater access to these opportunities than youth that come from lower income homes and schools, who, by the way, are also disproportionately Black and Latinx. So, and especially the Kansas City metro area, which is very low density metro area, there is this physical disconnect and spatial mismatch between the residential areas, the jobs, and the out of school time opportunities. And if you add to that the lack of reliable transportation, that we see that there is the youth are disproportionately impacted by this whole environment. In addition to that, obviously students that want to attend or at the age of attending these opportunities, they cannot go on their own. They cannot travel on their own. They are underage, they don't have obviously cars, but also, and because of that, they rely a lot on transportation provided from their parents, right? So they need a ride from someone. That someone usually is a parent that also has to work full time at and has to be somewhere else at the same time, right? Public transit is also another option, but public transit, there's kids may have some feelings of public transit not being safe for them. So that's the second mobility option for them. And of course, we understand that public transit also has a lot of limitations because the bus stops may be too far from where the kids live or where their school is. So it's not really an easy option for them to use. So this research, this topic on the out of school time opportunities and how they connect with youth is something that actually has been studied by the Kansas City Public Library that I mentioned earlier, who is one of our partners. They actually identified and defined those 6 learning equity gaps. These gaps, and we actually, from this project, we try to focus on the first 2, the awareness and the access learning equity gaps, because we feel that if we can offer awareness, so if we can offer a way for students to learn where the out of school time opportunities are, that's the first step. And the second step is to address the barrier of accessing that out of school time opportunity, right? Given this linear nature of the learning equity gaps, if we can address the first 2, we can also unlock the path for all of the remaining gaps towards opportunity for youth. And that actually can have a very long-term impact for shaping their identities and for also improving their quality of life. So this is the primary motivation of this project. And since we're focusing on the mobility part and the accessibility part, we do need to acknowledge that today there's a lot of new technologies and new methods to offer accessibility, like mobility as a service. Or electronic or electric mobility, because these really shape the accessibility landscape. There's a lot of research that has integrated mobility as a service into the transit system. and has shown that there is a lot of potential to reduce private car ownership and use, to reduce energy consumption and promote accessibility and livability. But we have not really investigated how mobility as a service can serve the vulnerable populations like underrepresented youth, right? And how they can help them achieve benefits for their lives, but also how we can do it in a way that is beneficial for everyone in the system and improve system efficiency. So this is a really deep equity issue from multiple perspectives that we dealt with in this project. So our vision was to provide solutions, design and provide solutions that improve youth out of school time activity awareness and access. So both of these, while reducing access inequities. And how we went about doing this. So first of all, the first goal to achieve was to develop mobility solutions based on new technologies or also modes of transportation and business models, including cost sharing options that serve the needs of youth. By taking input from the community and building on the efforts that have already done at the community level, and also leveraging the relationships between schools, students, teachers, and mobility providers. The second objective is to develop a framework. We call it the OUT. It stands for Optimized Unified Transportation Framework. This framework raises the awareness of out-of-school time opportunities and also optimizes transportation modes and route solutions, and also offers subsidies to offset the costs of transportation. And the last one is to do that by conducting a real-world pilot in the Kansas City metro area, and also evaluate the pilot in terms of marginalized youth's awareness of and access to and participation in the out-of-school time experiences. So our overall framework is shown in this picture. We have established with our partners a community engagement stakeholder group here in the left part of the figure. This group is comprised of academics, civic partners, local governments, and brings in together established collaborations. The goal is this CGS connects the stakeholders across the region and is intended to create idea sharing and promote the community impact through that. Through the planning grant, we established this group. And so that was really helpful in terms of the planning grant accomplishments. And it really helped us to hone in on our research questions and move this a little bit forward. So the group gets input from different stakeholders and also helps to lay the framework. The last piece of that is everything basically fits into the pilot and the development of the technology that we have to use it during the pilot, and also conduct an evaluation and see how successful was it in terms of providing access and awareness to the youth. And specifically the research questions that we wanted to address during the pilot and during this project are, what are the mobility solutions that we can come up with that can actually support out-of-school time opportunities? And how do these new mobility options can actually impact how teens travel, right? So these were very, very important to us. And we did that. We tried to address this through a series of surveys, travel surveys that we did, as well as building business models for mobility based on the results of those surveys. The second question is, how can we effectively guide the youth towards an integrated mobility solution? So for this question, there are basically two major impediments to opportunity access. The first one is that students are not sufficiently informed about these opportunities that may be of interest to them. And secondly, even if they are, they cannot effectively plan for travel to those opportunities. So we proposed that both issues can be mitigated through access to an integrated mobility solution, which is basically a mobile app that displays both out-of-school time opportunities and routing information to get to there. So get two things accomplished in one specific tech solution. The third question is, could our data and understanding of youth travel behavior be used to reassign or optimize the mobility innovation? So for this purpose, we are actually using the framework we developed to figure out how do teens actually use technology and how the teens actually go about to travel to those destinations. Excuse me. And how can we, knowing all that and having all this data, can we actually provide flexible solutions and routing and scheduling options to meet the demand that we see? So that was the third one. And the last one is, how do the optimized mobility innovations affect OST opportunity awareness and participation? So, we try to, obviously with a pilot, we can get some short-term benefits and results by looking at what's going on during the duration of the pilot, but we also are targeting towards long-term benefits for the underrepresented students. So obviously with a pilot, we can get the trips that they did, the time of day that they traveled, the mode that they selected, the perceived quality of service of the different modes that were available to them, right? So all of these are long-term, but we can also get participation data, short-term, but we can also get participation data like what were the opportunities that they were interested in attending, what was the opportunity location. Maybe we can identify some opportunity deserts that exist in the Kansas City metro area so that we can supplement in the future with some additional ones over there, right? So both short-term and long-term related benefits can be captured through this effort. So for the first part, we actually did a survey. We surveyed more than 800 students in Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri, to better understand their travel behavior. And that data actually helped us develop a mode choice model for the youth. So the questionnaire was very elaborate, and we actually asked them how they currently drive. So we had a revealed preference survey to see what's the most frequent used travel mode for them. We had many alternatives there, but we also established some hypothetical scenarios for new travel conditions, and ask them what mode they would choose depending on the cost and travel time for getting to their destination. So we included some stated preference surveys as well. So both of these surveys were combined to understand the current environment and as well as their desires, right? So some of the things that we realized was that students obviously these students we surveyed also face the same barriers in terms of participation. 58% of them did not really participate in any activities. And from those that did participate, most of them went there by getting a ride from someone or drove themselves if they had the car to do that. 24% of them took the bus, 10% of them walked, and only 1% biked. And there was no micro mobility related option for them to do that. So in terms of the development of the technology that we use in this project, as I said, our focus is on developing a tech that provides awareness and also provides access to opportunities in one app. We are kind of finalizing now the development of the app. It is really, and it has been tested quite a lot by students. We spent the summer testing it thoroughly, but with students from 2 schools to improve its usability. Right, because we want to build something that actually can be, teens would like to use. This app provides telemetry information, because when the kids use the app, we also want to be able to track and see where they're going, so we can analyze the data afterwards. But it also has an incentive system. We have built a point system to that, so that we can encourage the use of the app. Through the app, we use the app also for check-in to the events, so that we know that the student has indeed arrived at the event and are participating at the event. So we push a lot of surveys through that to gather that information. And the surveys also include some qualitative information, like, did you enjoy the event, and so on. So a lot of interaction is going on with the app that we have developed. It's also available in the app stores for the kids to download and use during the pilot. Obviously, actually, let me go back. I forgot to say that there's 2 components of the app. The one is an event feed, or a lot of events that are happening in the Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri side are listed there. Information on their location, their time, dates, whether food is provided, their cost, all of that is included there. And also the second, so that's the awareness piece, and the accessibility piece is provided through routing and options like how to get there with a car, with a bus, by foot, by bike. We also have we've integrated a Z-Trip, which is a micro transit provider in the area, so that kids can actually book their trips through Z-Trip through the app. So that's another integration that we did. Obviously, we need to know when these events happen. So we've also developed a tool for the educators or for event providers to add their events. Because otherwise, we cannot do it. We don't have the capacity to just gather everything. But hopefully, with this tool, we can gather some events so that we can do the pilot, and then later on, gradually, we can expand the list with other events, like maybe gather events from Facebook or from Eventbrite, and other platforms as well. So that's the kind of like the goal here, and we include events that happen one time off, or we also have events that are periodic, or we also have the possibility to incorporate internship opportunities as well that might be interested for the kids to attend. All of these are feasible only if we collaborate with mobility providers and if we can develop some new ways for them to travel. So we've worked with Trip, like I said earlier, these are microtransit. They provide microtransit option, and they actually have contracts already with KCATA or with Kansas City, Kansas, to offer on-demand services like the Freedom KC ride options, right? Or where they provide paratransit transportation to folks in the area. So Z-Trip, KCTA, Ride KC Bike, and the streetcar. We really wanted to incorporate Ride KC Bike because we think that kids would be interested in using bike and e-scooter options. However, we're looking at underage population, they really could not reduce the age limit that would allow youth to use their services. So unfortunately, these are not part of that. However, we do have the ability to show to the youth where bikes are available and what is the best bike route through the mapping interface. But we cannot really help them book a bike, right? So that's the limitation there. So this whole process of resolving the legal issues and working with the providers, obviously, as you can understand, it was very time consuming because of the target group. But we were also mindful about all the other initiatives that are happening, like, for example, that C-Trip is actually being used by other providers, so we can actually piggyback on their existing contracts and kind of like expand the service to the youth, to the target group. So that was a big part of this project. And like I said earlier, we have to be mindful of the system-wide impacts of that, right? The goal is not really to add more cars than already exist and increase the travel times or increase the delays or increase the fuel consumption for everyone, but actually see how we can optimize the landscape so that if we do remove some of the personal car use, since these trips are mostly made by private cars through rides from the parents or from other individuals, we can remove those and then add trips through microtransit and have maybe groups of kids that share the same ride to go somewhere. That would improve some of the cost and even safety aspects of the project. So, that's also how we are thinking about the quantitatively optimizing the services through the pilot that we're doing, but also long term. So we are looking at the pilot, as I said, a real world pilot. We're recruiting about 300 students. The students are grouped in two groups, a treatment group and a control group. The treatment group will get the mobile app and will receive training on how to use it, as well as how to use transit and bike if they have to. They also get subsidized mobility options. So they get free transportation through Z-Trip. Obviously, the buses are free in the area, so there's nothing that we can offer more there, but apart from educating them on the bus, on how to use the buses. we also offsetting the costs for the microtransit. And the control group, they receive training on transit and bike use, but they do not receive subsidized transportation options. So they have to pay for it. So we want to see, with the existing resources, how they would go about using transportation in the city if they knew where they wanted to go, right? If they wanted to attend an opportunity. So where we are with the pilot, we're currently recruiting at schools, so at the Crossroads School, as well as we're recruiting students to Thrive. In the Wyandotte County, we are reaching out to students and parents. In order to do that, of course, the teachers help us with the recruiting process as well. We're going to be doing a phased pilot starting in spring around the spring break. That will also extend into the summer months. And like I said, we are tracking the students through the mobile app. Obviously, we need to disclose this, and we need to be upfront about what the tracking means. Obviously, we're not tracking the students throughout the day. We're only tracking them when they say they will attend, that when they say they're starting the trip to go to an event, or and we stop tracking when they complete the trip. So we have to gain the trust of the students and their parents during the recruitment, because no one wants to be tracked, right? But on the other hand, maybe some parents will be okay if they knew where their kids are at the same time. So anyway, it's really important to gain the trust in this aspect. We also do surveys, pre-pilot surveys, as well as post-pilot surveys, to see what's their baseline and how things have changed after the pilot. And we also are conducting interviews with parents and students to better understand how the pilot is evolving in that sense. Everything is being done through the app. The kids enter their origin and destination. We are getting their travel times and their travel modes through the app, as well as the students are able to get to give a code to the Z-Trip drivers if they're using Z-Trip. Actually, they don't have to use a code. I take it back. We changed that. Automatically, when they enter a Z-Trip, they don't have to pay for anything, and the driver knows about that. So there is no cost for that. We have used behavioral economics to incentivize the consistent use of the app through bronze and silver and gold medals that we're giving to the kids. And actually, these are translated to dollars that they can use later on to whatever they want to do, even to book other rides outside of the pilot, right? And we're also pushing micro surveys so that we can understand what they plan, what mode of transportation they plan to use, and how was their quality of service of the trip, if they have any feedback for the trip, as well as event-related surveys, like did they enjoy what they attended? Do they plan on going back, and would they recommend it to someone else? So both things are also very important to us. So I think that's my last slide. There's a lot of focus on the scalability, sustainability, and transferability of the project, as I said, through NSF. So we're working on a consortium model where Casey Digital Drive will be the lead, and then other partners and stakeholders can assist with funding of this solution. and expanding it also to other schools in the area and engaging with other students and other parents, right? So that's that really talks to that. So of course it has to do with a lot of getting support from the cities and the local governments, getting subsidies from them, but also the technical part needs to be maintained, right, and updated, and also promoted to the community. So there's many different pieces of that we're tackling through the pilot, and we are addressing through the whole community engagement part of the project. So obviously we would like to expand to other communities, but showing that we have something that works and is useful and can be scaled, that would lead to this expanding part as well. So with that, I conclude my presentation. And I don't know if you have any questions or anything you'd like to ask.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I have a few questions. I'm going to jump in for the sake of time. And if other people, it looks like Emily has her hand raised right now. So I'm going to get mine in before other people ask their questions. I wanted to go back to the CES group that you chose, the community engagement group. What was the ratio of parents, students to school officials, mobility partners? I'm just curious to know were you intentional about the ratio, and was it just whomever could join? Can you walk me through some of that, your decision making?
Yeah, so we used we had to scale it down to what the pilot was about, right? So the pilot was about 300 students and their parents, so we selected some students, about 15 students, to participate in last summer's activities and help us a little bit understand the landscape, and their parents. So we did a lot of, we had 15 students from Kansas, and also 15 students from the Missouri side. So total 30 students with their parents that provided input to that. So, 30 out of 300, it's 10%. I think it's a good ratio of students that we engaged with. And it's a constant process, right? So we did that initial engagement, and now that we're closer to the pilot, we are looking at involvement of more students and more parents to that. So we want to have their voice heard through that. That was really important to us in the beginning of the project.
And I'm not sure if I missed it. Did you say what the ratio was as far as the student parent side to the officials and what is it? Oh, the mobility providers, city and school officials or employers? They were also in that group, right?
Yes. So in terms of officials, we have about 10 people that are engaged, from Kansas City, Kansas City, Missouri, as well as the mobility options that they have. The parents were more, so there were about 20 to 25 parents that we had. Teachers, so I don't know the exact numbers, but from the 3 schools that we've engaged, we had maybe more than 20, around 30 teachers that helped us, and in the survey phase. And I'm sure we have about similar to help us, that are helping us with the recruitment as well. Although with the teachers, one is the lead, and then there's several others that help the lead from that school. Gotcha. So
that's awesome.
So, it was good representation.
Alan said something I completely agree with. Engaging vulnerable youth and their parents is hard work. So congratulations on I mean, those numbers are astounding to me.
Yes, and we couldn't have done it without the community partners that that we have in Thrive, because they've done all this work. They have established relationships. I don't. I'm in civil engineering and I haven't worked with youth in the past, right? So it's very important to have the right people helping here.
Okay, and Emily Ryan has had her hand up, waiting patiently. Thank you, Emily.
Okay.
Well, it's actually not totally unrelated to what your first question was, Sharila, too. But I'm curious because you've talked about scalability a lot in terms of what are ways that you can scale this in addition to like the number of people involved. But are there ways that you can also just like eliminate some of the components of it or that kind of thing if you're looking at different communities to try to pilot in? Like ways that you're like providing an education component, for instance, and would all of those elements still have to be present if you're doing this at a smaller scale?
So I think we need to include all of these components. I see what you mean. Yes, I understand your question now. I think that it's important to offer the education component because we do see that youth, for example, they don't feel comfortable using buses or they don't know how to use microtransit, right? So, and that's why, I mean, that's also one reason they don't use it, apart from the financial barrier. So it is important to offer these educational options to, how to ride your bike, how to call a microtransit bus. Because otherwise, when I was 13, 14, I would not want to get in there without knowing what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that it's part of that.
That's great to hear, actually. So I feel like there's also a social sort of stigma or maybe a fear if you're not really aware of how to traverse in that kind of way, how to traverse the city or something. So it feels like the education component could be serving a couple different purposes. So, but I would imagine that makes it harder when you're always having to incorporate the entire complete project on every scale. So I was just curious, I guess, in terms of what you run into when you're thinking about like trying it in Lawrence or less where public transportation is a little less accessible or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, so one thing could be like also develop a school material for how to safely navigate with the city, how to get the bus, how to ride a bike, and that's something that can be incorporated in the school curriculum, right? Or it can be something that can pass from the event provider to the students that by the way, here's some very useful information of you to get here, right? Because they do want kids to get there.
Okay, I have a question from the chat, and then I see Ms. Bradley Ewing has her hand up as well. So Rebecca Lepping, who's no longer on, but I do want to answer her question. I can get it to her. She wanted to know, how do organizations that have opportunities for students get added to your app?
Yeah, so that's with the provider side.
Okay.
So that this is a platform that is designed for the educators or event providers. They just, they need to tell us the specifics, and all of that it fits into the app. I mean, we are mindful about this. We don't want to create extra work for them. So we try to minimize the amount of effort that they have to input there because we understand that they might have the same request by multiple people, right? So the one thing that we want to do is see how we can actually get events that already are populated in other feeds, just have them feed into that more easily.
And so if there was an organization like right now that they want to do it, what are the steps that they need to take to get added to the app?
They need to contact us so that we can provide the platform, because
platform.
right now it's not actually available yet.
Okay.
Out
Okay.
there, yes.
I think that's probably what she was looking for. It's not available yet. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I will let her know. And just so everyone knows, it is 10 o'clock on the dot. If you're please stay on as long as you need to. I want to take this question from our Children's Mercy representative, because I'm sure there's a connection to be made there. Please go ahead.
Yes, I thank you for the previous question, because I had a very similar question, because we have a lot of programming and events that are geared for youth, and transportation has been identified as a significant barrier. But I was just curious too as to what types of events are you looking to include on the app, so that if somebody is interested in submitting something, they make sure that it falls in line and fits the parameters of what you really want to host on that app.
Yeah, that's a great question. So for the so we said we would like to include events that the schools offer, for example, like basketball events and things like that, and sport events that the schools offer. We've also worked with Case System Alliance to include some of their events as well. So it can be anything related to athletics or academics. So any events that actually are interesting to kids. We did survey a few kids recently, and what we found was that they don't necessarily want to attend academically related events after school. Only a small portion of them said that they would. So they mostly prefer to do some kind of like a sports activity after school. But obviously for the pilot, we need to make sure that the events that we offer to that small group of kids are attractive to them, right? So we need to make sure that we have all the sports related events that the schools organize. Some of the kids also have internships. So we want to gather some of the internships that are available to them. And the library, Kansas City Public Library, also organizes some events that are attractive to students. So we're going to incorporate those as well.
All right. Well, I would love to connect and be in touch, because I think there might be some alignment with internships opportunities that we have at our site that might be of interest to some of the students in this program, and then also connecting to other opportunities that might be of interest, including like paid internships, because I think too, if you're working with vulnerable populations, one of the things that we often hear is that there is a barrier for many, students to get summer employment or summer jobs or internships because of transportation. And so that might be something else to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have like the list of the opportunities, would gladly incorporate them. And for the summer, I think kids are more likely to do an internship during the summer, right? So yeah, definitely that's something that we want to incorporate in the app.
Is the best way to get in touch with you regarding this app using your email address, Alexandra?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll share it in the chat.
And I will make sure that when the minutes go out, that it's there as well. For people that watch the recording, it may not have been here live, so they know how to contact you.
Okay.
Wow. This is awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really excited about this. It's a lot of work and very complicated topic, and a lot of different things to think about, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's definitely very rewarding.
For sure. Okay, for the sake of time, I want to just let everyone know it's 10:05. We can go ahead and disconnect. Alan, I see you're still on, but you're probably on another meeting already. Is there anything that you want to say before we leave this meeting?
No, just thanks so much. Great presentation. Super work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. And we'll see you all next month, same time, same place. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Take care.